little over a month ago, 4 senators introduced the Information Technology Investment Management Act. It's a long title for a simple concept: manage and monitor the money set aside for government information technology. This legislation comes after a GAO report found some IT investments were costing taxpayers $3 billion more than originally expected. Here to discuss the best way to manage the $80 billion information technology portfolio is Ira Sachs. Ira is a Senior Technical Director for High Performance Technologies in Reston. Why do these problems continue?
These problems continue. My experience over 20-some years in the industry is seeing these problems continue a lot because there tends to be a loss of focus for what these large projects are intended to deliver, for what the benefits that are going to be delivered are, for the costs and the risks that are incurred on these large projects. And they are large, they are complex, they are risky by nature.
Then it seems that one would get mired in minutia, or you lose track of the dollars here and there, and you know, a million here, but you end up with billions of dollars. It is easy for these things to just gain a life of their own and get legs and run without anybody catching up with them.
Right, and that's often what happens, and the projects often veer from the original intent of the project. So the approach that I'm espousing is one where we do an analysis and assessment ahead of time to really determine what the business rate of return is going to be on that project. And then as the project proceeds, particularly early on, to continue to reassess it against that. It's probably relatively easy to see early on in a more proactive way that these projects will tend to, it'll become visible to see them sort of go out of control or begin to give these symptoms of going out of control before they actually do, before the money is spent.
Can you give us any certain examples of how this happens or what some of these projects are?
Often a lot of these projects are conceived on relatively little real sort of analysis. There's a good idea, there's some funding that comes behind it, and then the project goes. And inevitably, the projects are often more complex than originally anticipated. They often can cost more than originally anticipated.
So you throw money at the problem, at the project.
Right. The costs increase, the complexity increases, the length of time from which something is delivered moves out because the schedule gets longer, and the benefits delivered sometimes are less because there's less functionality that can be delivered. So you start with a project that looks very attractive, and then as the project moves along, it can become looking less and less attractive. And the idea really is to catch that trend early so that adjustments can be made for success of these projects, as opposed to having them go longer to the point where they're already in trouble, and then we come back and try to do more remedial repairs at that time.
Now, coincidentally, you've written a book that talks about dealing with these investments. What are some of your recommendations?
Right. The book is called Performance-Driven IT Management, and the essence of the book is to really focus on the justification for these investments, often called a business case, and the performance improvements that these IT projects are to enable, and to track those projects against the performance improvements and not get lost in the minutia, to keep that larger picture, keep monitoring that larger picture as more is known about the project as the project moves along, and then ultimately to make a judgment as it goes whether it's staying the course or leaving the tracks.
I would find that we didn't have these issues 10, 15 years ago. As IT has expanded, taken on a life of its own, so have the projects, the money thrown at them, and things just kind of spiral out of control. Should there be better oversight and management, certainly?
I think there's a lot of great steps that have been taken by the White House on this with the 25-point plan and other things. I think what I'm saying is there's sort of another dimension to be more proactive and to catch these things early, as opposed to finding that they're in trouble and then coming back and meeting them. So I think you bring all these things together, we can be more effective in the management of IT and this precious resource and the funding that's available.
Good advice, Ira Sachs. Thanks for being with us. Capital Insider is back in 2 minutes. Stay with us here on News Channel 8.
Dave Lucas.